From snowy roads to racetracks, here is how front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive stack up, and why it matters way more than you think. Most people never think about which wheels are driving their car until something goes wrong. Whether it's how your car handles corners, accelerates from a stop, or keeps control in slippery terrain, the difference between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive can completely change how a vehicle behaves. In this video, we're going to break down exactly how each system works and their strengths and weaknesses, and help you figure out which one fits your driving style, your road, and your goals best. Let's start with how front-wheel drive works and why so many cars use it. In a front-wheel drive setup, the engine sends power directly to the front wheels. That means the same wheel that steer the car are also pulling it forward. Most front-wheel drive cars have a transversely mounted engine. Basically, it sits sideways, connecting directly to the front axle through a transmission and differential. This design is compact, light, and cheap to produce. And since everything's packed in the front, there is more space in the cabin and trunk. On the road, this setup helps in everyday conditions. Since the engine's weight is over the drive wheels, it gives more traction on slippery surfaces like rain and snow. That's why most economy cars and daily drivers use front-wheel drive. But there are downsides, because the front wheels are handling both steering and power delivery. They can get overwhelmed under hard acceleration or cornering. That's where you get things like torque steer, that tugging feeling in the steering wheel when you floor it. And in high-performance situations, front-wheel drive usually understeers, meaning the car tends to push wide in corner instead of rotating cleanly. Now let's talk about rear-wheel drive. In the rear-wheel drive setup, the engine sends power to the rear wheels, the ones that don't steer. This creates a natural separation between power and direction. The rear wheels push and the front wheels steer. The engine is usually mounted longitudinally, that means front to the back, sending power through a drive shaft to a rear differential. This layout shifts the weight balance more evenly between the front and the rear axle, especially in performance or sports cars. That leads to a better handling dynamic in dry conditions. When cornering, rear-wheel drive tend to rotate more predictably, making them feel more alive, especially at the limit. But it's not all good news. In slippery conditions, rear-wheel drive cars struggle. With little weight over the rear wheels, traction becomes a problem, especially when accelerating uphill or turning on ice. That's why rear-wheel drive isn't common in snowy climates unless paired with advanced traction systems. Also, for unexperienced drivers, the rear end can step out unexpectedly under throttle, which can be hard to correct. It's fun for enthusiasts, but can catch people off guard. Okay, let's make this interesting. On paper, this isn't fair, but we've got a BMW E36 Alpina Touring rear-wheel drive going up against one of the fastest front-wheel drive cars in BeamNG. And here's the kicker, the front-wheel drive car actually has more horsepower. So if this was just about horsepower, it would be game over for the BMW. But this isn't just about power, it's about how that power gets to the ground. So here's how it played out. The front-wheel drive car crossed the line in 2 minutes 23 seconds. The BMW E36 Alpina Touring, remember, a family wagon, not a sports car, clocked in at 2 minutes 21 seconds. Only a 2 seconds gap, but the way each car got there tells the real story. The front-wheel drive machine had the power advantage, but on the first major corner, it pushed straight into understeer and nearly lost it. The pattern repeated, quick in straight lines, but constantly fighting the front end in the corners. The BMW, on the other hand, slightly oversteered through most corners, but that rotation actually worked in its favor. It stayed composed, easy to control, and could carry more speed through technical sections. In the end, the front-wheel drive car was faster on paper, but the rear-wheel drive family wagon took the win on the track. Proof that drivetrain layout can matter as much as, if not more, than raw horsepower. So after all, which one should you choose? If you live somewhere with snow, rain, or icy winter, and you want a car that's easy to drive and predictable in everyday conditions, front-wheel drive is probably your friend. It's stable, fuel efficient, and generally easier for new drivers to handle. But if you're after balance, performance, and that connected feel in the corners, rear-wheel drive delivers a driver experience you just cannot get from front-wheel drive. It rewards skill, but it also demands more from the driver. In the end, it's not about which one is better, it's about which matches your road, your weather, and the way you like to drive. And as we just saw on the track, sometimes the right setup can surprise you.